Hello, everyone. You might have heard YouTube won this award. Was it an award for deleting more videos than anyone's ever deleted ever in the history of the world? No. Was it for censoring controversial videos? No. Was it for shutting down live streams of important events where there may be police brutality or violence, where we really need some kind of video evidence to determine what the hell happened? No, 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 no. It's not for all the censoring they've been doing. No, no, they didn't win an award for that. The CEO of YouTube won an award for free expression. A free speech award went to YouTube. Sponsored by YouTube. That's how they did it. So it was given to CEO Susan by Freedom Forum. And you can see in the corner there, top right corner, sponsored by YouTube. Pretty amazing. So I thought it'd be fun to see how the hell this plays out. It's too funny. It's too funny. And before we get into this, let me just show you what YouTube's actually been doing. The complete opposite of fostering free expression. They have been removing evidence of atrocities that jeopardize cases against war criminals. So they're removing important video evidence of war crimes. All right. All right. And if something gets through, if something about war gets through, or something controversial gets through, what do? Oh, okay. Here's a study from 2017 that goes on to show that there is extensive, quote, extensive evidence of algorithm censorship of demonetized videos. And YouTube didn't deny any of it. They didn't deny any of the claims of the report. So that's important because we hear about demonetization, but it's not only demonetization of videos talking about controversial things such as, I don't know, how to defeat racism peacefully. That's too controversial. That's one of my videos that's been demonetized. Or what's another video that they demonetized? In quote, there's another one of my videos, quote, inspiring Jewish voices for peace. That was demonetized and confirmed by manual human review. Now, luckily in that case, that one got enough retweets on Twitter that YouTube finally reversed that after a couple years. Well, I've been waiting for over 2 years for many, I could go on, many videos about positive things like this. Positive things like peace in the Middle East, but because the Middle East is controversial, my video is demonetized. Now, that doesn't happen to big channels like corporate news channels that are on YouTube. Doesn't happen to them. Why? Because YouTube, this is another thing that's happened under CEO Susan. YouTube started elevating, quote, authoritative voices. Authoritative voices. Now, authoritative sources. What's an authoritative source? How the hell do you determine what an authoritative source is? Well, the way you really do it, the way you're supposed to do it, is you look at the sources. Where are they getting their information? What is the information? Does it hold up? Is it well cited? Do they actually have evidence to back up what they say? But that's not how YouTube determines authoritative voices. See, they're picking corporate media as authoritative voices, elevating it. And to do that, well, you suppress everyone else's voices. That's censorship. That's not free expression. That's suppression of information, not celebrating expression. It is suppression of information. What else? They want to get rid of the dislike button. Give this a thumbs like, please. A thumbs up, a like. And it's just, I mean, how incredible is that? So in 2018, CEO Susan, she started the new YouTube policy to have the algorithm artificially boost corporate bullshit. People using YouTube, they dislike that corporate bullshit. And so now in 2021, YouTube wants to ban users from disliking the corporate bullshit. Or any bullshit. That's kind of important. Corporate or not, being able to vote is an important form of free expression. YouTube wants to get rid of that. I mean, okay, they already have a function where you can get rid of the comments or the likes and dislikes on YouTube. Okay, but at least have that so people can see that you've disabled it. To let people get away with, like, okay, to show just the dislikes, just the likes and not the dislikes, that's rotten. That's so, I mean, it just gives people an uninformed image of how an audience sees this video. Let people rate. That's like saying, well, Yelp will only accept 5 stars or any. I mean, it's just, come on. That's an important part of free expression. Let people share how they feel about a video. And the community benefits from it. Who wants to watch bullshit? All right. More. Another example, and then we'll get into this hilarious video. Yes. Okay. So this is important. This is another big thing. So recently, YouTube does not allow live streams that show someone holding, handling, or transporting a firearm. I haven't heard many people talk about this, but it doesn't take a genius to figure out what could be more important to have live streamed than serious scenes where guns are involved. Even if they're just being held. There's no exception in here to police. There's no exception, okay? Now, YouTube did just all of a sudden say that they'll let police brutality videos like go above the demonetization or something. But as far as live stream videos, they don't even allow it. So if George Floyd was live streamed getting murdered by that cop, we might not have that video because YouTube would have removed it. Think about that. Nobody's talked about this. I've had a couple people on to interview who had their video live streams taken down by YouTube and Facebook because it had people carrying guns in it. Nobody was getting shot. People were just carrying guns. And again, that happens in any scene involving police ever in America. I guess other countries, maybe they don't all have police with guns, but in America, this means you can't live stream police in America on YouTube. Facebook has the same rules, by the way. Sometimes it gets through, which is good. Give you a recent example. The Kyle Rittenhouse. There was extensive video live streams covering the shootings, the Rittenhouse shooting people. And now, whatever you think of the Rittenhouse case, everyone can agree that's important fucking evidence. So to help people figure out what the hell actually happened. That could have been removed. Somehow that slipped through. Actually, some of it was removed later on Facebook. And that's fucked up. That's important video evidence of only the most covered case in the country, other than the George Floyd thing. And so now it's probably the biggest case that it's gotten the most media attention. Second, other than George Floyd. All right. So now let's go to our interview with CEO Susan, YouTube CEO Susan. Here we go.
I'm so excited to be here tonight to present Susan Wojcicki with the Free Expression Award. As the CEO of YouTube, Susan is facing some of the most critical issues around free expression today. When billions of people are on your platform every day, how do you make sure that everybody has a voice, but also...
All right, did you just hear that? Sorry. Let's hear that again.
As the CEO of YouTube, Susan is facing some of the most critical issues around free expression today. When billions of people are on your platform every day, how do you make sure that everybody has a voice but also feels safe?
What? Hold on. Everybody has a voice, but also feels safe. Safe from what? Video? Safe from video. Oh no, I feel so unsafe. Close the fucking window.
How do you make sure that everybody has a voice but also feels safe?
We already have the safe function. We have the safety function. It's called close your fucking browser. Or don't click on the fucking video or click on another video. It takes literally a millisecond. Okay? So that should not be a priority. And because we know it's not an actual safety concern. They're talking about, safety because it might offend somebody, or you might show somebody something that goes against their preconceived notions. Oh no, especially on about serious stuff like war and I don't know, the COVID virus. I mean, what? Let people talk, let people be exposed to different points of view, but they're framing it like, no. You want people to feel safe. You don't want people to ever have their thoughts and views challenged. That's what it is. That's what's going on. All right. Yeah, enable child mode. Oh, God.
Today, YouTube gives people the opportunity to express themselves and the freedom to feel like they have somewhere that they belong.
YouTube gives everyone the feeling that they can express themselves.
The freedom that YouTube gave me is so to express themselves. Every day, YouTube gives people the opportunity to express themselves and the freedom to feel like they have somewhere that they belong.
The freedom to have somewhere that they belong. The opportunity to express themselves. Unless you did any of the things that I mentioned before. Unless you want to talk about controversial issues in a completely common sense manner instead of a bullshit pandering manner. And if you want to cover police on live stream, nope, that goes against their rules. If you want to have a goddamn say on whether a video is good or not, you want to give a video thumbs down, they don't want you to have that either. Oh yeah, and war crimes. Fucking war crimes. You're doing journalism uncovering war crimes. You're not allowed to express yourself on YouTube. That evidence, important evidence, will get removed.
The freedom that YouTube gave me is so important to me, and I'm so grateful. And that's why I feel honored to introduce to you Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube. She's been called one of the most powerful women in technology today, but for creators around the world, we just know her as Susan.
Okay, that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. Let's call her. She's okay. First of all, she's one of the most powerful people in the world. Yeah, who's more important to raise up than one of the most powerful people in the world already? What? So that's already kind of silly that she's getting an award. Because she's doing the exact opposite of what the award's for. But usually you want to award people who I don't know, aren't already uber powerful. And then what she went on to say that was really what got me.
The CEO of YouTube. She's been called one of the most powerful women in technology today, but for creators around the world, we just know her as Susan.
What? No, we don't just know her as Susan. She's the CEO of YouTube. censor Susan, I guess. Maybe that's how we know her as. We just know her as Susan? What are you talking about? Nobody knows her as Susan. No creator knows her as Susan except maybe this girl here, since 5 minutes ago. That's hilarious. We all just know her as Susan. No. We all just know her as Susan. Actually, we all just know her as the CEO that is fucking up YouTube and suppressing information and just screwing what was a great site that people could go to see independent videos, creative videos that wasn't fogged with, corporate agendas and all that corporate bullshit. Stuff that you could see that you wouldn't see just on TV. Because what's the point of just putting TV on YouTube when you could just watch it on fucking TV? So we had an alternative, a great place where people really did have a voice. Individuals, just regular people could have a voice. But now those regular people are getting drowned out by YouTube raising, in their own words, authoritative sources, which is just the same old corporate bullshit that we had on television.
Let's take a look at her work.
Fuck.
Susan Wojcicki is shaping the way that over 1 billion people access the media.
She is unquestionably one of the most powerful media executives on the planet.
Tell us again how powerful she is. Like, that's not a reason to praise somebody because they're so powerful. That's not, it's what do they do with their power? What do they do with their power? And yet they've told us twice already about how powerful she is. That's not something you award somebody for that. No, they don't need the award. They have the power. All right, let's see what else it says.
Video has never been easier to create, it's never been easier to watch. And so we think about ourselves as a platform for the next generation of media companies to...
Did you catch that? Did you catch that? She said, this is so big. This is so big. She said, they're the next generation for... What did she say? Did she say independent creators? No. Did she say regular people? No. Did she say everyone and everywhere so they can have a voice? No. She said they're the next platform for production companies. Let's see. How did she word it? It wasn't good, guys.
Never been easier to create, it's never been easier to watch. And so we think about ourselves as a platform for the next generation of media companies to be...
What the fuck? A platform? I mean, that's so big right there. She just admitted she's making YouTube a platform for media companies, not people, not regular people, but media companies that already have a platform on television. And they already have the money to have their own, NBC, CBS, Fox News, MSNBC websites. Okay? They've already got their platform on television. And their own goddamn website. And their own goddamn... They have a whole company. You don't need to give a home to production companies because production companies already have their homes. And the owners of those companies got big, big homes. They don't need YouTube. But how messed up is this? YouTube was great. And still, what is great about YouTube, the best part of YouTube, what makes YouTube, or what used to, was regular people. You could hear regular people doing not just regular stuff, but excellent stuff. Just excellent entertainment, awesome entertainment, unfiltered entertainment, and even great journalism that you won't see in television. In a video I covered a few days ago, a CNN guy caught on hidden camera said himself that the best journalism, you can't beat independent people just working in a basement. He actually said that, and that's true, because they have nothing to lose as far as like journalism. It's like if you're working in a basement or a bedroom or whatever, or just outside of a big company, you have nothing to lose. If you're doing it because you actually want to do good work, report the truth, investigate something and find something out that people should know. Like, there's no other reason to do it. Now, when you're at a corporation, big company, the reason to do it is so you keep getting that paycheck. Most people on YouTube, they're not getting a paycheck. They're doing it just because they want to, because they're driven and passionate about whatever they're making. And that's where the best work comes from. So when it's being made, out of passion, and real drive. Someone's not doing it because they have to for work or for a paycheck, but just because they want to, because they're driven to. All right. So I just cannot get over how depressing and that is. And she just put it right out there. And I haven't seen people point out this clip because it's huge that YouTube she's making a platform for media companies, not regular people. A free expression award for giving media companies a platform that used to belong to everyone? That's insane.
Easier to create, it's never been easier to watch. And so we think about ourselves as a platform for the next generation of media companies to be able to create content and to distribute it to the world. And I also really care deeply about the freedom of expression.
She actually said that. She really cares deeply about freedom of expression. She cares so much about freedom of expression, she's squashing the freedom of expression of everyone except media companies and individuals who are supported by those media companies. A lot of the big YouTubers, they're sponsored by Disney and shit. They have their big corporate sponsors.
To create content and to distribute it to the world. And I also really care deeply about the freedom of expression and the fact that people all over the world can use it to tell their story.
Are you a feminist?
Now, she just contradicted herself. That's bullshit. So everyone around the world can tell their story? No, you just fucking told us the truth, which is that you're making it a platform for media companies. But she just puts so she tells us that, and then she just puts up the images of, like, what is it?
And to distribute it to the world.
Then we have the cliche images of like, oh, everybody in the world.
About the freedom of expression and the fact that people all over the world can use it to tell their story.
What is womanism? What is womanism? What is woman? Well, anyway. So that story, hold on. So they'll let you tell that story. What is womanism? They won't let you make a video like, wait, really? What the hell is womanism? What is that? All right.
Are you a feminist or a womanist? A question a lot of Black women will.
The rundown.
Now, okay, so you can make videos about feminism and womanism. How are those different? Anyway, but you could not critique like a prevailing ideology. So that's the problem. Now, there's nothing wrong with I'm not attacking feminism, but I'm saying the reason they're using this as examples is because this is like just established now. Like, it's just common. It's not, it's stuff that's totally accepted. So the problem is there's stuff that's accepted that isn't actually true. Now, I'm not talking about feminism, but I'll give you an example, a troubling example, actually, that I just heard about. This may be a bit of a tangent, but it's pretty amazing. Okay, so okay, Michael Brown was shot by police in Ferguson. That's one of the names you'll always hear about regarding Black Lives Matter. But something that people don't understand is he didn't have his hands up and he didn't say don't shoot. He actually attacked the cop, and that was determined by a couple studies, including the State Department, the U.S. Department of State. Sorry, Department of Justice. The Department of Justice. Okay, which was helmed by a black man, Eric Holder, under a black president, Barack Obama. So, like that's just that's what the facts are. And yet on YouTube, it's got millions and millions and millions of views, and there's no little box underneath it to say that, oh, this isn't true, like you'll see on stuff about climate change and other. There's just no box under that. And it's because it's just commonly accepted, even though it's not true. So and it's very dangerous when you're just challenging stuff or labeling stuff false because people aren't challenging it as false, and you're just ignoring. Basically, the point is their enforcement is totally selective. And anyway, there's a recent Michael Brown video, documentary actually, and it was censored by Amazon for being offensive. True story. And why was it offensive? Well, it just spoke the truth, which is, going to be unsettling to some people who have been told, for years and years and years that Michael Brown, had his hands up and said, don't shoot. But, anyway, that's just, I should do a whole video just on this. Anyway, meanwhile, Amazon did accept another Michael Brown documentary that pushed the false narrative, the known false narrative. So it's just scary stuff, guys. Anyway, let's go back to the Freedom of Expression Awards.
Susan Wojcicki is shaping the way that over 1 billion people access the media.
She is unquestionably one of the most powerful media executives on the planet.
Video has never been easier to create, it's never been easier to watch. And so we think about ourselves as a platform for the next generation of media companies to be able to create content and to distribute it to the world. And I also really care deeply about the freedom of expression and the fact that people all over the world can use it to tell their story.
Are you a feminist or a womanist? A question a lot of black women will.
The rundown, the 101 on the language of the blind.
It's incredibly important that we have a responsibility framework, and that has been my #1 priority. We're removing.
All right.
And that has been my #1 responsibility framework, and that has been my #1 priority.
All right. What's her #1 priority at YouTube? Responsibility. It's not free expression. Responsibility. What does she mean by responsibility? Well, she's got 4 R's. She'll get into that.
The freedom of expression is really all over the world.
A question a lot of black
Of the blind.
women will.
It's incredibly important that we have a responsibility framework, and that has been my #1 priority. We're removing content that violates our policies.
All right. This is incredible. She just said, okay, we're removing content. Responsibility, that's #1 policy, not free expression. And then in the Free Expression Award video, the first thing she actually starts talking about is removing videos.
You can go too far. You can go content that violates. That has been my #1 priority. We're removing content that violates our policies. You can go too far, and that can become censorship.
And so we have been working really hard to figure out what's the right way to balance responsibility with freedom of speech.
Susan's also helping to reimagine and reshape what's possible for women around the world.
Ever since Susan started running on YouTube,
What does that have to do with anything anyway?
the percentage of women in YouTube has increased
Like, what is that? Anyway, all right.
significantly. Representation matters.
If women do not participate in tech, they're losing the chance to influence the largest economic and social shift of this century.
All right. Women, especially women. All right. Women who expose evidence of atrocities of war crimes and put that on YouTube, they may get that removed. If it's war crimes against a woman, that evidence may get removed. If women want to talk about a controversial topic, even if it's in the most common sense fucking way, that's going to get removed or at least demonetized and suppressed. Because, again, it's important, guys, to understand that just because demonetized videos, yes, they lose revenue, but they also are suppressed. That's what this study showed. YouTube never denied it. They denied it before the study. This study suggests very strongly that they fucking lied. Oh yeah, if a woman wants to give a thumbs up or thumbs down on a video, no, that woman doesn't get that free expression if YouTube has their way. All right. So yeah, YouTube's doing all this great stuff for if a woman wants to make a video called "Inspiring Jewish Voices for Peace," it's going to get demonetized. You're going to have to find hundreds of people to retweet it if you ever want that to get fixed, so people actually see it and it's not suppressed. If you want to make a video, if a woman wants to make a video about how to defeat racism, like I did, it's going to get demonetized. And all right. Yeah. So great work censoring women, YouTube. No, but they're helping women. All right, let's
Century. We realize we have really broad reach, and we want to make sure that we, as a platform, are using it for good. I know I can make it better.
That's really big, guys. She just said she wants to make sure the platform of YouTube that they are using it for good. Now, in theory, who could disagree with that? Except that's not what free expression is about. If you're hosting a platform that's really about free expression, you don't decide what's good. You let the people decide what's good. Personally, I think conversation about controversial topics is good. Because if you don't have that, if you demonetize that and suppress that and force people to go on to other platforms that have different opposing views, well, you are further polarizing the country, and we're already incredibly polarized, more and more polarized than we've ever been in modern history. And when you get it only goes so far. Once you get so polarized, you get violence, and we've already seen it in the streets. And YouTube has just made clear that they're not going to help us. They're not going to help us in that. I mean, they think that they're doing good. This is not good. It is not good to polarize people like this. It is not good to squelch common sense discussions about controversial topics. It's not good, because that's how you get misinformation. That's how people become misinformed, when they start living in bubbles. I mean, people like to live in their bubbles anyway, but one way you could finally pop someone's bubble is, hey, maybe you see an interesting looking video on YouTube that has a different point of view. Well, you might not see that anymore because it's demonetized, so people aren't incentivized to make it, and because YouTube suppresses it in the algorithm. I really believe, I mean, come on, how long have we been on YouTube? We've seen a lot of good stuff on YouTube. You wouldn't be on here now if you hadn't. YouTube didn't make any of that. Regular people made that good content. It shouldn't be up to YouTube to decide what's good, what's not. Now, okay, yes, obviously you can decide this is a platform That's not pornography. A no pornography platform. But that's not about what's good. You're not making a judgment about, it's good or bad. You're just deciding, okay, this is a no porn platform. Okay. All right.
This century, just
The percentage of women in YouTube has increased significantly. Representation matters.
if women do not participate in tech, they're
All right. Representation matters unless you're from people representing a different point of view. Are you saying that maybe we shouldn't punch Nazis? That maybe we should fucking explain to them, like try and get through to their stupid head, get through to them and not start violence? That's too controversial. That's insane, guys. That's absolutely insane. All right. I'm so fucking hot. Hold on. Oh, fucker. All right. All right. I'm sweating here, guys. Okay. Getting worked up.
losing the chance to influence the largest economic and social shift of this century.
Hold on.
Economic and
Yeah.
social shift of this century. We realize we have really broad reach, and we want to make sure that we, as a platform, are using it for good.
Yeah, no kidding. You have the broadest reach in the goddamn world. You get more. There's more people watching videos on YouTube than anywhere else, and it's not good when they are deciding what's good. Let people decide what's good. People have been making good content on YouTube. That's why YouTube got so big, because people made good content on their own. Let people decide for themselves what's good. Fucking, it's important, and it's good to be able to have common sense discussions about controversial issues, including important issues like war. And war is literally one of those issues that will likely get you demonetized. Even discussing recent events of violence, about violent events, is likely to get you demonetized. It's or just words that topics that might offend somebody. I've had videos. It's insane. All right, let's continue.
I know I can make it better. And that
Fuck you. You know you can make. See, that's the arrogance that's destroying YouTube. That's the arrogance that's destroying YouTube. She's like, she thinks that she can make it better based on what she thinks is good. And it's just what she thinks is good entertainment. And what does she think is good video content? Authoritative voices, which is their term for corporate news. She thinks that's good. She likes the New York Times and all of the MSNBC, CNN, Fox. Okay? That's what they think is good. That's what they're promoting now. All right. Next.
that's why I'm here.
That's why she's there. To fuck up YouTube.
Susan, I'm so honored to be able to present you tonight with a free expression award for your incredible leadership with YouTube. And I just want to say
Incredible leadership, flushing YouTube down the drain.
thank you for all the work that you've done to empower people around the world to
Again, empowering. You're suppressing people's voices. The only people she's empowering are, like she said, she's making YouTube a platform for media companies and corporate sources that their term for is authoritative sources.
share their story. And I'm thrilled to be able to ask you some questions about your perspective on free expression.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you so much for being here and joining me here tonight.
As if it wasn't as if this isn't totally like pre-scripted planned.
Now, I know that your passion for free speech has been in part impacted due to your family's history. Can you share how your family's experience has shaped your ideas of free speech?
Sure. Well, so on both sides of my family, they came to the United States because of the need or different kinds of persecution. On my father's side, it was due to political persecution. My father came from Poland, and for a variety of reasons, after World War II, it became important for them to leave, and my father escaped from.
Now, why did they leave? Why did people like her father have to leave Poland after World War II? Well, because it became part of the Soviet Union, notorious for the most oppressive censorship that the world has ever seen, except maybe till now. And she's just doing a form of that here. Now, it's not at the same level, no, but it's still very nefarious. And I mean, the trend, if you keep going in the direction where you just promote stuff that you think is good and, you know, suppress stuff that doesn't go along with the regular narrative coming down from the top and authority figures, well, that's a recipe for this, you know, kind of Soviet Union propaganda machine. It is. I mean, if you really just keep doing that, it is. And we're not there yet, but it's fucking, I mean, that's it, but and it's nobody's fucking has an issue. How does nobody have an issue with this? Like, how is everyone not talking about this on YouTube? Well, they're not, because I don't know. I guess they're just not into. I don't know. This is driving me nuts. All right, let's continue. All right, well, we're talking about it here. All right, not everybody's talking about it. We're talking about it here. Let's go.
From Poland and wound up coming to the United States. And, you know, my grandfather was never able to leave. He remained in Poland and was behind the Iron Curtain. And I saw how difficult it was to communicate with him, to be able to worry about what you were saying to him and for him.
Worry about what you were saying? Now, again, not the same level as Stasi yet, but, you know, now YouTubers, they're worrying about what they say. They are. Since she came in, they've been worrying about what they say because they don't want their videos to get demonetized. So they're worrying about saying anything controversial. I fucking Status Coup, they just got a strike for some video that was too offensive or something. And not kidding you, they were tweeting out how they were deleting other videos because they didn't want to get other strikes. So YouTube didn't tell them to delete other videos. They just did it on their own and started self-censoring. Susan, you got people worrying about what they say. So much that you got big channels like Sesku, they're going through their archives and they're literally deleting stuff. Now, they shouldn't be doing that. That's not how you fight back against censorship, by self-censoring, no. But you can understand the fear. They don't want to lose their damn YouTube channel. They got one strike. They don't want to get other ones. I mean, but that's just not how you fight back against censorship. But that's just proves, it's just a perfect example of how people are worried about what they say. She's got this, you know, sad story about her father worried about what he has to say in the Soviet Union. And how can, like, is she really this oblivious to that she's starting a similar thing with YouTube as far as like people being worried all of a sudden about what they put up? This is new stuff. This is new stuff. It's completely new. We didn't have to worry about this demonetization more than a few years ago. and being suppressed for talking about controversial topics, or even like just offensive words. Like that wasn't an issue before. All of a sudden it's a new issue. She brought that on because of her leadership. People are worried about what they say now. They're second guessing themselves. They don't want to get censored. They don't want to say something too controversial. They don't want to say something that challenges mainstream narratives. And that is like she said, well, she didn't say anyway. That's the same kind of shit that happened under the Soviet Union that she's talking about is so bad. Her policies are causing the same reactions in people, the same fear. Now, it's not the same level of fear, like, no one's going to come kill me yet because I put something controversial on YouTube, something that goes against the narrative. But this is still serious, guys. This is still serious. And I don't know. Did you guys hear about that shit with somebody on Twitter had police show up at their house because they put out a tweet critiquing AOC's response to a question about Israel-Palestine. It was totally kosher. It was just, there was nothing obscene about it. It was just good, calm critique. And someone showed up police showed up at his house for that. Now it turns out supposedly somebody else in the replies made some kind of threat. Okay. But they showed up at his house, he had nothing to do with that tweet. He just started the threat. That's really sketchy, guys. So, and I didn't see the media cover that except fucking Fox, but just because, it's AOC. Anyway. So while we're not at that level, like, come on, guys. Like, I'm not saying get paranoid, but you just, that's how stuff, the way things get to that level is nobody calling out this bullshit from Susan and all these bullshit policies that are destroying what made YouTube good, destroying the free expression, the real free expression.
To have concerns about what was said or what was even sent to him. And then on my mother's side, they came to the United States for religious persecution. And so I've just seen the real benefits.
Now, if you believe things on YouTube, if you believe, I don't know, I believe Graham Elwood got knocked off YouTube for a bit, or his channel demonetized because he was talking about JFK. So if you talk about a JFK conspiracy theory, just talk about it. You're not welcome on YouTube. You can't make money on YouTube. Now, here's the thing. These are beliefs, guys. People can have beliefs. Also, if you're wrong, YouTube is a place where you can learn you're wrong and people can correct you. She's talking about religion. Well, religion is just a set of beliefs. So she's framing it like YouTube, it's a place where we want to welcome people's free expression when it comes to beliefs. Well, not if you believe stuff that you're not allowed to believe. That's not free expression. And it's obviously problematic because sometimes, I'm not going to talk about JFK, but sometimes what you're told is true is not true. It happens a lot, all the time. We were told that the protesters, the rioters who broke into the Capitol on January 6th, that they killed a police officer. Turns out that was false. That's false. That officer died of a stroke, natural causes. That's what the autopsy finally came out. The autopsy was finally published, and yet all the mainstream media, all of it, said he was killed by the protesters, the rioters. So we're just anyway, moving on. What else you got for us, Susan? How else you gonna show how much of a joke YouTube is?
That freedom of speech has, as well as representing all people of all different backgrounds and all different perspectives. And
except perspectives we disagree with.
That the freedoms we have, we really can't take for granted, that we really have to make sure that we're protecting them in every way possible. And I feel,
all right, bullshit.
Because of my family history, a deep connection to those freedoms. And I'm very thankful for the freedoms that I have.
Absolutely, as we all should be.
All right. Are you thankful for the freedom you have to live stream police officers? No. We don't have that freedom on YouTube. All right, let's next up.
Now, when I started on YouTube, all I really wanted to do was just be authentic and share my story. But of course, as I've grown, there's been more pressure to speak for others in my community. And with that becomes a lot of responsibility. And I know at YouTube, you guys are always juggling responsibility at such a high level, always needing to try to balance people's right to free speech with protecting our community from content that can be harmful. So can you talk to us a little about that?
Sure.
Protecting our
speech with at such a high level, always needing to try to balance people's right to free speech with protecting our community from content that can be harmful. So,
all right, protecting our community from content that can be harmful. And we've already established you can't get harmed because you could just close the goddamn browser. So what does she mean harmed? Harmful as in you might get offended. Harmful as you might get exposed to a point of view that you thought was bullshit. Harmful because you might just find information that is not acceptable according to YouTube and their authoritative sources.
To balance people's right to free speech with protecting our community from content that can be harmful. So can you talk to us a little about that?
Sure. Well, first of all, we want to be able to have as diverse and open a platform as possible and represent as many views as possible on the platform.
All right, that's bullshit. That would be easy to do. You don't need to intervene if you want to represent as many views as possible. Then you don't have to intervene and remove stuff.
But we also need to make sure that there are limits and that we can see that sometimes we've always, since the very beginning of YouTube, have had community guidelines because we've realized that there's certain
yes, but you've expanded those guidelines over and over and over again. Now, maybe they can reform them a bit. They did recently allow police brutality videos to not be suppressed.
Types of content, like some of the very beginning, we wouldn't allow adult content, hate content, dangerous content. All of those types of content could really make it that YouTube was no longer a platform that was viable for all these other voices out there. And so we've always had community guidelines, but as YouTube has become bigger and
all right, she said they don't allow hate content.
And so we've always had community, no longer a platform that was viable for all these other voices out there. Hate content. All
right, let me show you about hate content. Let me show you what they're doing about hate content. What are they doing about hate content? Here we go. Let me show you. About hate content. Well, they labeled an interview I did with somebody from the QAnon Anonymous podcast about QAnon getting censored on Twitter. The QAnon Anonymous podcast is just all about making fun of QAnon. And we just discussed the ban, and that was hateful just because it had QAnon, because we talked about QAnon. We weren't promoting anything QAnon. We were just talking about QAnon. Although I did pose the question, why did QAnon get called out, announced by, this big call out from Twitter when they're just breaking rules like everyone else, including K-Hive? Are we going to get an announcement about K-Hive now that I exposed how they were boosted by bots and have been circumventing Twitter bans just like QAnon? Although I actually didn't hear QAnon got boosted by bots, but K-Hive did. And K-Hive pushes, another thing we heard about QAnon, they're pushing misinformation. K-Hive's pushing conspiracy theories and misinformation and just blatant fucking lies all the goddamn time too. But we're never going to get an announcement about K-Hive. All right, now, now, in addition to that one, here's another video of mine that got called hateful. It's called SJW Karens accuse New York City volunteer of racism. And here, let's pull this up. Ha! Where's the... Okay, yeah. View. Here we go. Here, here we go. Okay, so maybe that's not big enough for you. Let's see if I could zoom in. That help? There we go. All right, so this video is called Hateful Content Likely to Offend a Marginalized Individual or a Group. All right, what this content is, this isn't hateful. There's nothing hateful about this. It's literally a video of two white women, privileged white women, who are in an education, part of an education council in New York City. They're public servants. And I'm just exposing them being hateful. I'm not exposing hate. I'm sorry, I'm not being hateful. I'm exposing hatred. These women, there's video of them in the meeting going absolutely unhinged, relentless, insane, baseless accusations of racism. Why? Because this guy on the right, he was at an event for the Education Council in his own living room. There was people of color there, and he just said, and they were talking about the need to increase diversity in the school system, desegregate the school system. And he said, and he just made the comment, well, my living room is desegregated right now, or integrated. It's integrated right now. And they said that was racist. They accused him of being racist. He had his friend's nephew, who happened to be black, in his lap. And they accused him of using the black child as a prop because he was babysitting his friend's nephew. And they freaking lose it on him. They just totally expose themselves because there is no logic behind their accusations. So that video was called hateful. It's not a hateful video. It's a video showing hate. Not only did YouTube call it a hateful video, they said it could be offensive to marginalized communities. That's why they labeled it hateful, because it could be offensive to marginalized communities. Well, white women, rich white women on an education board are they're not marginalized people, okay? They're privileged. So it's just completely backwards. But because the people accusing people of racism are the racists, like, so basically you're not allowed. Okay, good. We can call out, traditional racism. That's good. We can do that on YouTube. We can call out traditional racism. But if you call out when white people are being, or anybody's being racist against a white person, and falsely accusing them of racism, that's not okay. You can't expose that hatred, that bigotry. Do you see how insane this is? Anyway, how did I get talking about this? Oh yeah, because Susan was talking about hate, how they're getting rid of hate. Well, they're getting rid of hate, and but they're not letting you see this hatred. They're not letting you see hatred from privileged white women. Absolutely insane. They're not letting you show hatred against white men for doing nothing wrong and falsely accusing the man of racism. I'm just showing that. I'm revealing hatred. I'm not, this woman is being hateful, and my video gets called hate, and because it might offend marginalized communities. There's no fucking community that this would offend other than these two angry, unhinged, privileged white women on this education council. Back to, we're going to talk about that later, but back to Susan.
Like some in the very beginning, we wouldn't allow adult content, hate content, dangerous content. All of those types of content could really make it that YouTube was no longer a platform that was viable for all these other voices out there. And so we've always had community guidelines, but as YouTube has become bigger and has had more of an impact, we've seen the need to increase what we're doing from a responsibility standpoint. And this has been an area of increasing importance for us as we have certainly gotten bigger. And we call this whole work the responsibility work. And we actually talk about the 4 R's of responsibility.
What do you think what do you think the 4 R's of responsibility are? What are the 4 R's of responsibility that she brings up in a free expression award acceptance speech? Let's see. What's the first R stand for? Let's see.
It involves literally thousands of people and a large work across the entire company. But if I sum it into these 4 different R's, the first one would be remove.
The first R is remove. How perfect is that? How funny is that? Jesus Christ.
Which is that we're always updating our policies, and when content is violative of any of the policies, unfortunately, we need to remove it. And so we removed 9 million videos last quarter, and almost all of them, over 90%, we removed with machines, which is...
She's bragging. She's talking about how she just removed millions of videos by machines. We haven't even been able to verify if those really were videos that we should have gotten rid of or not. In a video celebrating her support of free expression, the first thing she really of substance that she mentions regarding what she's done on YouTube is how she removed 9 million videos by machines. By machines. Not humans looked at these videos and were like, yeah, and we determined that these really were dangerous. No. 9 million videos removed by machines.
Good, because it means if there's content that's violative, we find that really quickly. And the second one is raise. So being able to raise up authoritative information. So for example,
Again, okay, so first R is remove. Second R is raise up authoritative content, which means suppress regular people. Authoritative content, again, is just established media companies. That's why when you go to the YouTube homepage, it used to be all kind of cool, creative, original videos. Now it's just corporate news. Corporate news and corporate sponsored videos. That's it. And corporate sponsored creators. That's all you see now on the YouTube homepage.
Pandemic, we served hundreds of billions of impressions that came from different health organizations, like whether it was the CDC or the equivalent in countries all over the world, and making sure that people get information from the right medical sources in the case of COVID, or news from authoritative sources. So we're working to make sure that we can raise up the information that is valuable for our users. And then, there's a lot of content that technically meets the spirit of what we're trying to do, but it's borderline. And so for that content, we will just reduce, meaning we're not going to recommend it to our users. It's still on the platform, but it's content.
All right, guys, did you catch that? Did you catch that? How could you not? That's insane. So we're going to remove videos by machine, not by human, by machine. Millions. We're going to raise up authoritative sources, corporate media, establishment narratives, establishment media, big companies. And what's that third R? What did she say?
That came from different with machines, which is good.
She said we're going to reduce borderline material. So you're suppressing what the fuck is borderline material? It's whatever the fuck they want it to be. So it's stuff that's not even bad according to them. But it could be. It might lead to somebody might watch a video and then they might click on another video that has nothing to do with that video, but it just might happen. So we have to punish that video.
One, and almost all of them, over 90%, we remove with machines, which is good because it means if there's content that's violative, we find that really quickly. And the second one is raise. So being able to raise up authoritative information. So for example, in the pandemic, we served hundreds of billions of impressions that came from different health organizations, like whether it was the CDC or the equivalent in countries all over the world, and making sure that people get information from the right medical sources in the case of COVID, or news from authoritative sources. So we're working to make sure that we can raise up the information that is valuable for our users. And then, there's a lot of content that technically meets the spirit of what we're trying to do.
So you do everything to meet their technical standards. And it's a lot of fucking standards.
But it's borderline. And so for that content, we will just reduce, meaning we're not going to recommend it to our users. It's still on the platform, but it's content that is not necessarily recommended by our platform.
What the fuck? So she's just saying that the algorithm, so they're deciding what you see. It's no longer, they're not recommending you what, you might find interesting like they did before. No, it's what they think you might find interesting that they approve of, that they think is good. So even if you're looking for something in particular, well, they're going to make borderline content. They're going to make content that they don't like not show up. They're going to suppress that. That's unbelievably fucked up. And it's the exact opposite of supporting free expression. She is suppressing free expression. And these policies suppress free expression.
And the last one is reward, which is that we have a higher standard for where we serve our advertising dollars. And that has many reasons.
All right, so the fourth R, reward, is really it's punish. We are going to punish people who want to say something different than our authoritative sources. And we are going to make sure that they do not earn money like our authoritative sources, our media companies that already make money and already have money.
We want to, we want to do the right thing for our advertisers, and they care a lot where their ads show up. But we also want to protect creators like you who have built businesses with really, really valuable content.
We want to protect creators like you who are doing the exact same thing that their media company sources are, their authoritative sources. They don't want to help you if you want to say something different.
And make sure that that we don't have a situation where advertisers pull their spend because there's some content on it that they're not comfortable with. So we want to make sure we're protecting all the valuable creators like you. So those are the 4 R's of responsibility that we think about as we are as YouTube is growing and we're continuing to invest. And it's been a huge priority for me at YouTube to make sure that we are balancing the openness of YouTube, but also the responsibility.
That's fantastic. I think all of those are.
That's fantastic. Removing millions of accounts millions of videos by machine, not even having a human look at it. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. That's so free expression. Thank you, Susan, for your free expression, for enabling free expression on YouTube by removing millions of videos by machine, and by raising up corporate news media that doesn't need to be raised up, that already has money and exposure on television, by reducing the reach of independent voices. And what was the last R? What was it, guys? Oh yeah, rewarding. And by rewarding people for just repeating the same bullshit and for not being original. So yeah, that's great. You're going to reward people for not thinking critically and not producing original content, but just regurgitating the same safe content that is coming from your authoritative sources.
Very valuable steps that YouTube has taken. Now, when I started on
the CDC or the spirit, we want to do the right thing for our advertisers, and they care a lot where their ads show up. But we also want to protect creators like you who have built businesses with really, really valuable content, and make sure that that we don't have a situation where advertisers pull their spend because there's some content on it that they're not comfortable with. So we want to make sure we're protecting all the valuable creators like you. So those are the 4 R's of responsibility that we think about.
All the valuable creators. The valuable creators, to them, are the ones that are just repeating what comes from authoritative sources, from their corporate media overlords. But clearly, the real value of YouTube has always been original voices, independent creators that can create things that corporate outlets aren't allowed to say or to even consider, and also not allowed, and they're just not creative. Corporate media is just it's not creative. Like, that's where creativity goes to die. So the real value of YouTube was seeing independent creators, and with this policy, they're making clear that they only value people. They want to make sure to value people who don't do something original or different or controversial. As far as when it comes to challenging, mainstream narratives and such.
As we are, as YouTube is growing and we're continuing to invest, and it's been a huge priority for me at YouTube to make sure that we are balancing the openness of YouTube, but also the responsibility.
That's fantastic. I think all of those are very valuable steps that YouTube has taken.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. Thank you, Susan, for chatting with me, and congrats on your very well-deserved award.
Thank you so much to the Freedom Forum for having me here today and for this.
For your well-deserved award, sponsored by YouTube. YouTube CAO gets a well-deserved award, quote, well-deserved award, from her own company.
So much to the Freedom
Deserved award. Your very well-deserved award.
Thank you so much to the Freedom Forum for having me here today and for this award. I recognize the significance of freedom of speech, and I'm so honored to be here today to receive this award.
Oh, God. That's too funny. That's so funny. All right, I'm going to read some comments, and then I'm going to read my article in the Gray Zone. I was published in the Gray Zone about K-Hive's bot farm. K-Hive's boost from a bot farm controlled by a Democratic Party operative. Yep, it's a fact. And we exposed it this week. And I'm going to read through it here for you. But first, any questions, any super chats, send it over and I'll take a look. Make Orwell fiction again. Yes. Yes, Jack. Yeah, I agree. Quit trying to protect me. Yukon man knows what's up. Schmoopy says, why watch MSM on TV when I can get it on YouTube? Yeah, we don't need that on YouTube. They're making YouTube mainstream media. It's a shame. It's a shame. All right. Now I am going to read my article. All right. Okay, so this is in the Gray Zone. Kamala's K-Hive boosted by bots. The true story of K-Hive. While the media defends K-Hive's disturbing attacks on critics of Kamala Harris, new findings reveal a Democratic Party-linked bot farm amplified its leaders. An April 8th LA Times profile of the K-Hive attempted to put a positive spin on Twitter's nest of Vice President Kamala Harris superfans, omitting the group's online abuses, offline harassment, and alarming origins. Describing the K-Hive as, quote, the type of modern political army that politicians increasingly rely on for both support and defense, the LA Times painted its members as political realists united by a desire to defend one of the most powerful politicians in the country from unfair attacks. Because who needs more help than the most powerful politicians in the country? Turns out that Harris's modern political army was manufactured with the aid of an army of fake Twitter accounts. After the term K-Hive was formally branded by MSNBC pundits like Joy Reid, K-Hive leaders received a boost from a Democratic Party operative-controlled bot farm. So just think about this. Oh, well. This K-Hive has been described as a grassroots movement. Yet the K-Hive comes from, the term came from MSNBC pundits, Joy Reid tweeting it out, and the K-Hive was created by people online, a lot of unhinged, hateful people online who just happened to get a boost from Democratic Party connected bots. Because you can't be more grassroots than MSNBC and fucking Democratic Party controlled bots. Just think about that. This is what people have, what has been described as a grassroots movement. Okay. One of the people most advanced by the botnet is the widely recognized founder of K-Hive, Bianca Della Rosa. Here's a quote from her. Gotta kill very violently, like actually killing people for not agreeing. Bianca Della Rosa, the founder of K-Hive. According to Vox, K-Hive credited Della Rosa with organizing K-Hive in a Facebook group that started in 2017. Bustle confirmed that many K-Hive accounts point to Della Rosa as the creator of K-Hive, as did the LA Times' own source, Reese Colbert, whom it identified as, quote, one of the more prominent members. During an appearance on CNN pundit Bakari Sellers' podcast, Colbert credited Della Rosa with creating K-Hive. So everyone knows, Reese Colbert is the big poster child of K-Hive. She's been in practically every article about K-Hive. Kamala Harris, she's been photographed with Kamala Harris and her husband. Her husband has tweeted out a photo with her, calling her a friend. So she's the K-Hive poster child, and even she has said that Bianca Della Rosa created K-Hive. And again, Bianca Della Rosa is the author of that wonderful tweet up there. Gotta kill very violently, like actually killing people for not agreeing. But she's still on Twitter. All right. Beyond its omission of this obviously salient fact. So LA Times didn't talk about any bot farm or even the founder of K-Hive. So beyond this omission, the Times failed to inform readers that Colbert and the Twitter account Black Women Views are the same person. Instead, the Times quoted Colbert as two separate people. So they quote Black Women Views at the top, which is Colbert's Twitter handle. And then they quote Colbert later in the article. Never said it was the same person. Democratic Party connected Twitter bots helped drive K-Hive. The LA Times let K-Hive describe themselves as truth tellers, when in fact they are notorious for spreading noxious lies about their political opponents. For instance, K-Hive spread a baseless lie that journalist Walker Bragman was, quote, literally caught running a fake Black Twitter accounts. In reality, it was K-Hive members who were connected to a network of fake Twitter accounts, some of which used the profile photos of deceased women of color. Classy. Super classy. In 2018, an extensive investigation discovered a network of Twitter bots run by Democratic Party communications consultant Sally Albright. Della Rosa, then Brave Neck Blog, and her fellow K-Hive ringleader Dane Weeks, aka Mr. Dane 1982, aka Mr. Weeks 1982, aka Wonder Bitch 82, aka Wonder King 82, were among the Twitter accounts most promoted by the bot network. So there you go. The K-Hive leaders were among the accounts most promoted by the bot network. In the form of retweets. So they got the most retweets from the bot network. The bot's most commonly retweeted negative or positive word was racist, artificially boosting tweets accusing Bernie Sanders supporters of racism. Here's one sample from Sally Albright, which got retweets, many retweets from these fake accounts. Sally Albright tweets, "They don't care because Bernie told them identity politics is bad, unless it's white identity politics. So that's what they believe." That's Sally Albright, Democratic Party op, tweeting out that Bernie Sanders supporters are white supremacists, that they believe in white identity politics. That was retweeted many times by the bot farm. In 2019, Albright was again caught gaming Twitter for fraudulent purposes. However, her Twitter account was not banned until late 2020, near the end of the election. How about that? She got caught in 2018, 2019. Twitter let her stay on until the end of the election. Got caught meddling in the election, but the Democrat meddling in the election, that she didn't get any press. This didn't get any press. And she remained on Twitter until the end of the election. And she's probably back on Twitter. At least 7 of De La Rosa's accounts, Braveneck blog, Bianca and De La Rosa, Bianca Cossetti, Brave Writing, Brave_writing, Braveneck 2020, were eventually suspended by Twitter for violations, including abuse and harassment. De La Rosa's current Twitter handle is Real K-Hive Queen Bee. She also uses Queen Bee De La Rosa and has used many others, including K-Hive Queen Bee, K-Hive Queen Bee, spelled B-E-E, and Wonder Bitch 81. So that's about a dozen accounts that she's used. Several of them she's been suspended from. And she's still on Twitter. But get this. Using multiple accounts to circumvent suspension violates Twitter's rules. In fact, these K-Hive tactics are the very same tactics that Twitter banned QAnon accounts for using. Yet still to this day, K-Hive leaders proudly admit to circumventing suspensions as far back as 2015 and remain on Twitter. And here's a tweet from Black Professor, aka Wonder King 82, aka Mr. Dane, who was one of the accounts most boosted by the bot network. Here he is, just this April 8th, saying, "Damn right I'm riding with my friend Real K-Hive Queen Bee. We were the original tag team duo taking on Bernie Sanders minions in 2015. We rode with Hillary Clinton until multiple of our accounts were suspended. I'm not riding with people who failed to credit the Queen for her creation." So there they are admitting to, and De La Rosa retweeted this, by the way. So they're proudly admitting that they've been using multiple Twitter accounts since 2015 to attack Bernie Sanders supporters. And he's also going on, again, he said many times, and K-Hive accounts all over Twitter credit De La Rosa with founding K-Hive. One of the LA Times K-Hive sources, Kenny Walden, tweets under Raw to Real. Notorious for calling for the death of Bernie Sanders, Walden has been banned on Twitter at least 3 times before under various aliases. Kenny Eyes, King of Clapbacks, and Kenny Boo 93. And he's been banned on Twitter for reasons, for these 3 times. These 3 accounts have been banned, suspended, for reasons such as, quote, this is according to Twitter, he was managing multiple Twitter accounts for abusive purposes. Did the LA Times talk about any of these suspensions? No. Did they talk about what any of them were for? No. Violent inspiration. In June 2020, De La Rosa unleashed a call for murderous violence. Quote, like actually killing people for not agreeing. She mocked people promoting MLK as, quote, too soft, and laughed about breaking someone's nose with one punch while blaming the victim. It's his fault, she stated. Such declarations of violence may be why the Harris-friendly media makes little to no mention of the Queen Bee. However, there was one particularly ironic exception to the code of silence around the K-Hive's menacing behavior. MSNBC's Malcolm Nance. On Twitter, the network's national security contributor acknowledged that some K-Hive tweets, quote, openly expressed racism and violent threats. And he asked his followers to report De La Rosa. Instead of being suspended, De La Rosa was hailed as K-Hive's brilliant inspiration. And you can see on Twitter, she receives endless praise from K-Hive. And as I've said, is widely recognized by K-Hive to be the founder of K-Hive. And you just had even an MSNBC national security contributor like Malcolm Nance has acknowledged that accounts like hers, including hers, openly expressed racism and violent threats. She didn't suffer anything. She's still on Twitter. And here we have a blue check saying, please recognize that K-Hive was started by the brilliant woman below, Bianca De La Rosa. Do not erase her part in this historic moment. Well, you know what? It's so funny because LA Times and the Harris-friendly media, they're trying to erase the true origins of K-Hive. But K-Hive themselves, they want De La Rosa to get credit. I'm giving her credit, finally. I'm finally giving her the credit she deserves. Threats of harm. In its fawning depiction of K-Hive, the LA Times failed to mention that its members have taken their harassment campaigns beyond Twitter and into people's personal lives. 2 women told HuffPost that K-Hive members made threats against their children. K-Hive contacted one woman's ex-husband at his place of employment to tell him he should check on their 11-year-old daughter. K-Hive members accused another woman of being a white supremacist, calling her place of work 15 times to get her fired. Then someone filed a report with Child Protection Services and falsely accused her of child abuse. The LA Times reported that K-Hiver Shantae Berry denied making threats when she tweeted a list of Harris critics who, quote, may go through some things pretty soon. However, in a video published on Twitter, the paper's other K-Hive source, Kenny Walden, threatened everyone on Berry's list. He said, something is about to happen, y'all. Y'all about to lose your motherfucking job. Every motherfucker who was on Shantae's list is a fucking revisionist and a white supremacist. Note, the K-Hive list of alleged white supremacists happens to include people of color. Interesting. It's almost like these accusations of racism and white supremacy are complete bullshit. And that they just fling these accusations of sexism and racism against anyone who has any concern or any question of Kamala Harris or any powerful woman like Hillary Clinton. Although she's not so powerful anymore. K-Hive often insults people for being, quote, white. Sometimes they're anti-Semitic. De La Rosa says, quote, the Jews ran off. We're mad at them for abandoning us to be white with white people. In another post, she suggested Jewish people hate black people. Albert Molina told HuffPost that K-Hive repeatedly said he was white and accused him of being a white supremacist, even though he identifies as Hispanic. De La Rosa taunted Molina with a racial slur. And she's just tweeting him, says, "You're a sellout. You're the Latin version of this," which is a picture of a raccoon. Coon. There's so many examples I saw of K-Hive attacking people for being white and white supremacists, even when they weren't even white. According to LA Times, the K-Hive is just a bunch of moderates who tend to promote pragmatic liberalism. That's how they describe the K-Hive. They tend to promote pragmatic liberalism. Media hypocrisy. Well, there's the classic example. One of the classic examples. You have the Daily Beast saying that Bernie bros are loud, proud, and toxic to Sanders' campaign. And then they say for Kamala Harris built a digital army. Now she gets to use it. Do you see the hypocrisy? By the way, that army was built with fake Twitter accounts. Some real people, but they were created. They were given a voice by retweets from fake Twitter accounts. Remember, the LA Times cast blame on Sanders during his 2020 campaign for his supporters' quote, abusive behavior. That's how they described it in the Times. To this day, however, the Times defends Kamala Harris from association with verified abusive behavior. The verified abusive behavior of K-Hive. I say verified because Twitter has banned their accounts for abusive behavior multiple times. And they're still on Twitter. They keep coming back. Same people. And yet, there's literally no mention of abuse and scarcely any allusion to it in the paper's Kamala Stan coverage. And I tweeted out, K-Hive uses the same tactics that got QAnon banned and more. K-Hive was boosted by a verified Democrat-connected bot farm, has a history of abusive behavior, and even glorifies violence. Meanwhile, the media just writes stories resembling Kamala Harris clothing commercials. Did you see those images in the LA Times article? It's just Kamala Harris clothing. It's a Kamala Harris clothing line commercial. It's ridiculous. As national political campaigns fight for social media dominance, it is natural that the online bases they establish will attract some deranged individuals. But inside the K-Hive, the most violently unhinged voices tend to earn the most praise, while mainstream media looks the other way. Harris and her husband, Douglas M. Hoff, have openly embraced and encouraged the K-Hive, praising its members as pretty awesome. Because being promoted by a bot farm and harassing people offline, threatening people's children offline, and spamming and lying about people, exercising abusive behavior such that you repeatedly get banned on Twitter, because that's so admirable. And so Kamala and her husband, I think that's pretty awesome. So that's the story. I'm working on a follow-up that looks at the top couple hundred accounts that were promoted by this bot farm, and I'm discovering some interesting stuff. Might not be so surprised here that a lot of these accounts were also hashtag resistance accounts. The New York Times, Washington Post was retweeted by these bots. Finding some interesting stuff. All right, so to the comments. Did I miss any super chats? If I did, I apologize. I'm watching it now. Please send some super chats. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight. I want to answer some questions. Oh, there's one. Keep it real. Thank you. Keep it real. Appreciate it. I will. Parasocialite says Last American Vagabond had his channel pulled. That's right. I heard about that. Oh, wow. And Corbett's main channel. I had not heard that. That's pretty big. Corbett Report main channel was removed. Wow. Really? Jeez. Slow News Day also. Damn. Huh. Because, I mean, it really should go without saying, but it's just not. It's a very bad move, needless to say, to ban people for even being anti-vax or questioning the vaccines or what we're being told about COVID, even if they're wrong. And yeah, many of them may be wrong. They all could be wrong. Even if everything they say is wrong, because they could be right. And even if not now, even if not this moment in time, maybe a vaccine in the future, they could be right about. We can't be suppressing any challenges to, the accepted narratives, because that's how you get a war in Iraq. That's how you lose 500,000 lives based on lies. And, when things are true, if there really were WMDs in Iraq, you can prove it. Let the naysayers say the thing and then prove it. Likewise, all the stuff about COVID. If people are spreading misinformation, prove it wrong. That's what science is supposed to do. I just saw somebody got their Twitter account removed temporarily. They came back, but just for sharing a government study on a government website. I don't know if it was a government study, but it was a study published on a government website that had some conflicting conclusion to what we're being told about COVID. It was about masks. They had their Twitter removed temporarily. That's scary stuff. It was a scientific paper. But because it didn't support masks, they got removed. But guys, it's a scientific paper. Now, scientific papers can be wrong, but the way science works is you're supposed to respond to that with explaining why it's wrong. Censorship is not science. It goes against science. How can you ever, in order for science to learn new things, you have to have hypotheses. You have to challenge accepted norms. That's how you advance in science. And so if we're not even allowed to do that, we'll never advance in science. It's just absurd. If this kind of censorship extended beyond COVID, even, it's a scary thought. So again, all this there is a problem with people, thinking that Biden was voted with election fraud. The truth is, people are dumb, and people just didn't like, so they voted Biden in the primary, and they were misinformed, and they were more afraid of Trump. But the thing is, so I have not seen any convincing evidence that there was any serious election fraud, but you can't censor people for saying that, because what happens when it is true someday? Could be, you just got to let the battle of ideas play out. You make your claim, you have evidence to support it. If not, your video stays up and you just look like an idiot. That's how it's supposed to work. And if anybody takes it down, maybe you do, because it's embarrassing. You got it wrong. All right. Thank you, Rick Ganji. Appreciate you. I appreciate you too. Thank you, Rick. Who else wants to get a word in before we wrap it up? I accept tips, guys. I accept tips. I didn't get a cent for this article. This is a lot of work. This is real investigative journalism. Please support it by supporting me on Patreon if you can. Patreon/ORF, ORF. Or super chat in here. It's always super helpful. And let's see. Ha! Mockery says, you accept just the tip? Send me the tip. I'll accept it. All right. I got another one from Rick Ganji. I hope for pronouncing his name right. So hopefully I pronounced it right again. Thank you, Rick Ganji. Or did I say Ganji? Uh-oh. Well, it's one of the two. Philip Blair. Thank you, Philip Blair. Philip says censorship is not science. Well, he's quoted me. Well, yeah. Yeah. Although they're turning it into a science, the way YouTube's operating. They've got their algorithm working scientifically to delete millions of videos by machines. Scary stuff. Scary stuff. Kinky2 says pay via PayPal so YouTube doesn't get any of it. Well, that's a good idea, Kinky2. In my other videos, I have a link to PayPal in the video description in all my videos, if you would like to send a tip through PayPal. But super chats, so easy, and I mean, let's face it, PayPal takes a little cut too, I believe. Bitcoin. Anybody got some Bitcoin? I've actually, so I got a Bitcoin donate link in like all my recent videos going ways back actually, but I don't know if I've never gotten a single Bitcoin donation. So if anybody wants to send me like 1 cent in Bitcoin, just so I know that works, that'd be sweet. Oh my God, would be good, asks me. Matt Orfala, have you heard of Henry George? Yeah, I've heard of Henry George, and I've quoted Henry George. I've written a little bit of Henry George in some of my basic income articles. Henry George. Yeah, Henry George basically advocated for a basic income. He's an old progressive. Super old. And yet there's a lot of progressives that really hate basic income. Strange. LVT Would Be Good says UBI without LVT is a very bad idea. What does LVT stand for? I'm gonna guess it doesn't mean luxury vinyl tile, which is what comes up on Google. Thank you, Would Be Good. All right. Woohoo. Thank you, Would Be Good. And did I get, let's see. Whoop. I got to thank you. I want to thank you. Let's see. Opening up my email. And all right. Thanks. I don't know if am I supposed, maybe I won't read that. Oh, yeah. Well, thank you too, Kat. Thank you, Kat. Hook me up would be good. Okay. Ooh. Madura Ray. Madura Ray? Madura Ray. Thanks, Madura Ray. Appreciate it. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Ah, yes. Okay. So Would Be Good is saying that LVT stands for land value tax. So he's so Would Be Good is advocating for UBI with a land value tax. Philip Blair makes a good point, which I find endlessly entertaining. Is even Milton Friedman advocated for a basic income too? I think of this whenever people claim that UBI is Marxist. Likewise, when people claim that UBI is, like conservative capitalist, it's just always fun to point out MLK supported it. You could say Henry George, but most people don't know who Henry George is. Let's see. Wow. Well, and Daft, Farming Ganja, Jeffrey Denton, Mark Rice, MT Unit, Mockery, Blue Seas, Cat Terrell, Schmoopy, Shaboopy, Voltaire, Would Be Good, Parasocialite. Thanks everyone for joining me. And check out my other videos. Share them if you like them. And please support me on Patreon. It would be incredible to have, some kind of just a sustainable monthly income so I could really focus on making good videos and investigative journalism. Curious if you guys have a preference. Like, do you guys like my edited videos? Or do you prefer like more investigative journalism, like writing articles? Although you're watching the live stream, I'm gonna guess that's not the thing you like best about it that I produce. But I appreciate you joining me. This was good until I just like lagged on and kept lagging on at the end here, begging for money. But you guys are still watching, so I want to keep. So I'm enjoying this, so I try to keep it going. But maybe I should quit while I'm somewhat ahead. Philip Blair, thank you again, Philip. Says we love your videos. I love you guys. Thanks for the support. It really feels good. It inspires me to make more, to know that you do enjoy them. Appreciate it. All right. I'll try to keep it up. No agenda. Huh. Interesting. All right. Peace out. Thanks again.